Ever since I was a young man, I've been informed, usually by liberal types, that Stuart Lee is a comedy genius, as well as being hilarious. However, I have to say, I never really found him that funny. Of course, I've been told by the liberals of London, no, you just don't get it. This is multi-layered comedy. It's meta. But I've always thought, I don't know, I think I do get it. He seems to be riffing on the banalities of mainstream British comedy in order to expose the unthinkingness of the general population, while deconstructing the mechanics of a joke to show he's self-aware of his own liberal snobbery. In fact, that's part of the comedy itself. But again, this has just never worked for me. I've always liked comedy a bit more raw and a bit more real. And it's not about Stuart Lee being a raving left-winger either. For instance, I like the comedy of his hero Bill Hicks, who was massively left-wing. On a side note, I do believe if Bill Hicks had survived and seen the world descend into cancel culture and the woke era, he would have probably moved rightwards and been cancelled for his controversial comedy, but that's just my take. But at the end of the day, maybe I'm right about Stuart Lee's comedy, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is some super meta joke in there somewhere at the heart of it all that I'm just yet to spot beneath the heavy layers of irony and self-referential jokes. However, despite his edgy stick and being down with the kids of Shoreditch, Stuart Lee does have the typical views of any boring liberal elite. I knew that many years ago when I heard him say political correctness is just institutionalised niceness. How edgy! And I saw a clip of Stuart Lee recently on Channel 4 saying how he thinks the descent into fascism is unavoidable now, and, well, his takes didn't seem to be that genius to me.
I don't see a way out of where we're going, and so you...
So when you talked about fascism in your last column,
you meant to call it what it is, absolutely.
Alright, so there we go. Stuart Lee thinks we're descending into fascism. Original take there from a left-wing comedian on Channel 4.
I mean, you think that's where we're heading?
People are pussyfooting around this idea. People are being deported wrongly from the States to an El Salvador jail without due process. What's that?
Well, that's Donald Trump getting rid of thousands of gang members who were there illegally, causing an absolute ruckus in the United States. I don't know, maybe a few of them haven't had due process. Now, if that's the case, maybe it could be illegal under international law, but it's not fascism. Remember, fascism is a political system of ultranationalism, one which is very wary of free markets, something Trump isn't wary of at all.
Trump is doing deals for resources with dictators. It absolutely is that, and we have to call it that.
Yeah, again, doing deals with dictators isn't fascism. That's bog standard political practice and always has been. Tony Blair had to do deals with Gaddafi and Putin, as would Jeremy Corbyn if he came into power.
And we have to act in the way that we should have done more quickly in the 30s.
Oh, for goodness sake. How can people say this guy is original? Again, I've been hearing that since I've been 16 years old. Every single month, liberals in the liberal media have said it's 1930s all over again. It's happening now. Fascism's here. But come on, Stuart, you cannot be serious. If you think Trump's as bad as it gets, you haven't seen anything yet. It's going to get far messier than that in the next 10, 20, 30 years. And also, what does he mean what we should have done quicker in the 1930s? Does he mean we should have killed Hitler quicker? Is he saying we should kill and take out Donald Trump? To be fair, Stuart, I think you finally made me laugh.
I just got an offer, will you come and do a week in this club in Chicago? It's not something I'd normally do anyway, because at the moment I'd have to take a huge set of an American cityscape and 2 full-size werewolf costumes. I'd have to get those through American customs at the moment.
Is this supposed to be meta comedy as well? A couple of werewolf costumes through customs in America? Oh, the hilarity. Of course, in reality, if you went through US customs with a couple of werewolf costumes, the guards there, if they were even bothered, would just say, what do you need these for? And you'd say, I'm a comedian from Britain, they're part of my act. And they'd say, oh, great, have a nice trip. But remember, everything is very serious in America, according to the Liberal at the moment. So much so they've got their serious hat on.
But I wouldn't work in the States at the moment. I'd worry about them going through my jokes and ending up spending 2 days locked up without my heart medication. I just would worry about it.
Yeah, well, again, unless this is some meta act, the reason you're worrying about it is because you're a liberal idiot. There are left-wing comedians every single night en masse in America. And ironically, one thing that Stuart never seems to complain about is someone making jokes about Islam. You know, people have done that and been killed before. However, the only time Stuart would lay into something like Islamophobia would be to mock someone like me with one of his 10-minute screeds about, "Oh, you like the mocking of the Islams, do you? You like the Muslims when you're mean to the Islams? Oh, funny, isn't it?" Or while a trendy bunch of Guardian Easters slap their legs and cackle like they're high on laughing gas. Because, you know, it's meta. This is multi-layered. It's ironic. He doesn't actually mean it, but he does, but he doesn't. As I say, it could just be that I'm an idiot who doesn't, quote, get it, but I do wonder how much there really is to get. The guy seems to have the views of a typical 14-year-old girl who started listening to Rage Against the Machine a few weeks ago. Anyway, that's enough from me. Let me know what you think down below. Is Stuart Lee a genius, or are you more on board with me? Do consider subscribing to the channel if you're new, and enjoy the rest of your day.